Good morning. Hello. Welcome. Welcome to my stream. Today we're going to be painting. Oh, Lucy, she always has to intervene. I was like, do I have a minute to go make another coffee real quick? And really I didn't, but I made one. Hello. Good morning. How are you all? Today we're going to be painting plants. We have about an hour. Hi, Elsa. Good morning. How are you? Thank you. This one right here. That one right there. That one. Yeah, welcome to another creative morning. Today we're going to be painting plants. I have some images on the Patreon, so you can choose from those. I kind of have my eye on one. I actually was thinking about it just right before we started, and I was thinking, like, how do I want to create my spread? So I really wanted to do something that was going to involve like house plants, like in pots. I like the idea of like having pots in these. And so I was kind of trying to think about like maybe I could stack them and I can do multiple plants in one. I'm not sure if I'll do that today. I kind of just really want to experiment and explore ways to paint the leaves, especially when they're very variegated, like this one right here, which is the one I think I'm going to start with. And that's like, you know, those different colors that are kind of playing together. Especially, I have a lot of trouble, especially with things like this, with the pink and the green. Because they're complementary colors, it's really easy to get like muddy colors, like browns. And so that's why we're going to try it. We're going to see what happens. I'm going to start with this image. If I have time and I want to add more, or I feel like changing my composition as I go, I'll do that. But for right now, I'm just going to start with one. We're going to see where we go. We're going to see what kind of space I have left over at the end, and then I can make decisions after that. So as usual, I'm working with my Perfect Sketchbook, which is the Etcher Lab Perfect Sketchbook, which is my favorite sketchbook now. One that I don't think I can maintain this level of lifestyle for myself because it's an expensive sketchbook, but it's very nice. And I really like it, especially for painting with gouache. It's just such a treat. And I'm working with my Princeton brushes that I just got. I'm finding that I really, really love these. I hope I can take care of them because I'm not very good at taking care of my brushes. But I do really love the Princeton brushes, and I also am working with acrylic gouache today, and I have them already. I picked some colors already, and I have them on my my Masterson Stay Wet palette. So, of course, you're invited to use whatever materials you enjoy. And again, remember that this is just a time for us to kind of like get a little bit of work in on our sketchbook practice. So, you know, experiment, play, explore. It doesn't have to be good at the end. It's just play, right? So that's what we're doing today, and I'll kind of walk you through mine, and I hope you'll try yours also. I don't have any timers set for today. Last time we worked, we just kind of like, you know, painted as long as we wanted. So that's what we're going to do today. And if I feel like, you know, starting a second one, like if I feel like I'm done with one and I want to start a second one, then I'll do that. And you should feel free to just move between the images as you like. There are, let me see, 5 images on the Patreon, and that one is open to everyone. You can go and see it, and these are images from Pinterest. They are not mine, and I just thought they were really beautiful, you know, leaves that have a combination of pinks and greens. I really want to paint the one with the polka dot leaves. I think that was called like I want to call it a begonia, but I don't think that's it. It's something with a B, I think. But anyway, I have my iPad handy right next to me right here. Can't really see it, but that has my image so that I can kind of zoom in and see it a little bit closer up. And yeah, let's get started. I just don't, you know, I'm just going to kind of like play today. Last time we painted was, I think, like the first time in a really long time that I didn't, you know, try to do a bunch of like images. Like I was just like, we just did one, and that was so nice to do. It was so nice to just kind of focus on one image and not worry too much about trying to get, 15 minutes of painting on one or anything like that. So I just really gave myself primary colors. So I am going to just kind of, mix my colors as I go. And I'm already finding Lucy hairs on everything. Lucky me. My dog, Lucy, if you don't know of her yet, is like oh, you know what I wanted to do also? I wanted to put an underpainting on here. So let me do that first. What do I want to use? I want to use something a little bit different today. I always use the same thing. I always use pink. So I thought I would try something different. I don't know what I have. That would be fast drying. I'm just going to do something different, and then I start with the same thing. Let me use this crazy green. I have this green ink. I really should have prepped this before we started, but it's okay. We'll just, do what we like here. I have this green acrylic ink, and I really just wanted to have something as like an underpainting kind of color. There's something really nice about the way this color, whatever your underpainting color is, the way it interacts with the acrylic gouache on top. The gouache is going to be very opaque, but it does kind of, peek through in some places, and I really enjoy that. I think I should have given this a good, what do you call it? Shaking. I don't think I shook this, but sometimes most of the time I use pink for my underpainting. I like pink. I like red. I like really warm colors. This is still pretty warm, but this works really nicely because acrylic ink dries so fast, and this paper, it just like soaks it in, and then you can start painting pretty immediately. Just need a little bit more. Want it to get this edge here. So this is already, it looks pretty dry to me. Okay. So this is Amsterdam acrylic ink in olive green light. And this paper is really, really absorbent. It is a cotton rag paper. So it's very thick. It has a nice decal edge. I believe it's Fabriano paper in the sketchbook. So it's nice paper, and it really just really takes it in. So I just like to give, I know everybody gasps when I do this kind of stuff, but I like to really get like a nice flat page. Okay, so this is dry enough. I feel like I can start painting. And I forgot one other thing that I've been doing quite a bit that I enjoy is doing a little bit of, I've been incorporating a little bit of sketching into my practice because I like the look of the black ink kind of peeking through as well. So I have been using this. I didn't bring mine. I left it like in my bag. I know I was using it yesterday. But I like the way the black looks when it kind of peeks through. So I've been doing this. I got this, I kind of added this into my practice after I was drawing with Art with Mrs. E. If you've ever seen her on Instagram, she has a Patreon too, which I am part of. And she was doing something with like pen ink. Oops, wait a minute, way over here. Pen ink and watercolor. And I used this, and it just was like, it wasn't very refined, but I really love that about it. So I have been playing with this and incorporating it into my paintings, which is not really like a customary part of my practice. I am more accustomed to just kind of painting and without a sketch, and I just kind of see what happens. But there's this like dry brush work that happens with this brush or this brush pen that I love so much. You know, I love some texture. So that's what really like drew me to using this as part of my paintings. And then it kind of shows up a little bit in there. So I like that also, which is very unusual for me. I definitely don't use black. I never use black. Like, black is not on my palette. It is probably somewhere in my material bag, but I don't use it. So this does add that black element that I'm not really super comfortable with, but I'm learning to play with it. I don't know, to really kind of like embrace it. Just like as a different value, like another color. I don't know, there's some weird stuff happening in here. Definitely gone off track here with the drawing, but it's okay. I always say that no one's gonna see the image at the end of this. They're just gonna see your painting, so don't worry too much if your image is moving away from the reference, you know. It's not that important. Ooh, my placement here is really off, but I'm just going to do the best I can here. Okay, so I'm going to stop there, and I'm going to leave this handy in case I feel like doing a little bit more of that, and then I'm going to start adding my color in. And I have been employing this practice where I just start with a big brush, and I want to give myself like the least amount of control here. So the idea is to just, you know, block things in and not get too precise early on. Do that a little later on as I continue to work through the painting. So I'm gonna try that again. I'm gonna continue to do that in my work. And I'm just gonna pick an area that I can start to build on. I feel like these variegated leaves are gonna be a lot more challenging than I thought they were gonna be challenging. I'm not gonna lie. I had a feeling this would be hard for me because I like to work really quickly, and it's hard for me to just, you know, focus on, you know, building every section like slowly. And yeah, I'm not very patient. So I'm going to just lean into that. And it's okay if my image is really just like an impression of this image, of this painting. No, wait. My painting is an impression of this image. There we go. That's better. That's more like what I meant to say. So I'm using the pinks to neutralize or like desaturate my greens so they don't look too vibrant, especially in some of these areas where the greens are really like kind of murky. I feel like I need to go a little darker here. By a little, I mean a lot. And there, you can see that this opaque, this is just not the right color for me. Hold on, let me see if I can play with that a little more. This opaque gouache is really nice about covering, like allowing you to cover whatever you don't want visible. And there are some colors that are a little bit more transparent. And sometimes when that happens, I usually will add a little bit of white to them to make them a little bit more opaque if I'm not like vibing with the opacity of them. So I'll come back and play with that. But I think while this is on my brush, I can come to this area here. I feel like maybe I need to get a clip here. Yeah, that one is really like yellow here, so I'm gonna do these two parts right here. And I'm gonna get a clip. I need a, just so I can keep this a little more flat. I do love to put in a background, so I intend to paint something into that negative space. And I really have been wanting to experiment with and add in like patterns. I just haven't been brave enough to do it yet, so maybe today will be that day because I have a lot of space. So I really wanted to put in like some, you know, a stripy background or something with like polka dots or I don't know, something. I wanted to give like wallpaper vibes in the background, but I mean, I don't have a lot of, I don't have the patience to just like really dial in and start painting a patterned background. So we'll see, we'll see what I'm capable of at the end of this. Like if my attention span is like done, yeah, we're gonna get what we get, but we'll see. We'll see what happens here. So I'm finding that this pink is such a good pink for this color on the leaves, and I always kind of struggle with finding the right colors. I wanted to see what it was. This one, yeah, I mean, I wish I could. That one would be this one right here, the very bright one. This is Turner acrylic gouache. It's just called pink. And then this one is the rose. So that kind of really like works well. This pinkish color right here, this one is the pink. For that shade there, it's working really well for that. Sometimes I get like, I mean, I love pink, so I just kind of add a lot of them to my palette, and then I kind of like have to really think about which ones are good for which parts. So it's something I just need to think a little bit more about it rather than just kind of like diving in, right? I do a lot of just very like intuitive painting. Everyone's always like, how are you choosing your colors? I'm like, I don't know. I mean, I should stop and think a little bit more about my, like how I practice it, but sometimes I just like go with what I think. I mean, I think that's what we all do, right? Just go with your instinct, go with your gut. So that pink is a good option for this one. And I think for those like really dense like pieces of like stem, or they're not really stem, they're like leaves that are like furled. These like alizarin crimson are a good match. These pieces in the middle. And these stems here, they're very, very dark. Could use a little bit of light on the side, which I'll come back to later, but that way I can just block them in and I'll know that that space is designated for this stem or leaf or whatever it is. I definitely made up some leaves and stems here because it became a little convoluted here. I lost it a little bit as I was sketching, so kind of making some of this up here. But when and if ever I show this image, I'm just not going to show them the original. I'm just going to be like, no, you don't need to see that. Nothing to see here. This is like, oh, I missed a little stem for this guy. And this one is like the back of it, or so it kind of seems. So we get to see that vein kind of run up the edge. There's also this really dark pink here on the edge of that one. Maybe a little bit here. Just looking for those darks. Don't feel like this is the right color for the inside there. Oh, right here. This one too. Okay. And I think that's supposed to kind of come all the way over here. Okay. I really love these colors together. They are really speaking to me. I do love pink and green so much. It's giving like summery watermelon. Just really pretty. It's such a like beautiful color combo. Okay, I added a little bit of that rose color, like rose madder, or mine is just called rose. I think it's just like, I don't know, it's like a blend of colors. But it would be nice to like figure out which colors are in these blends so that, you know, then you can make them yourself, you know. Right there. Maybe a little bit can come in here. I feel like this is a good like in-between color. I kind of want to move my brush strokes in the direction of the like veining, so it feels more in line with the leaf, I think, if that makes any sense. A little bit brighter here. It's a lot of light kind of shining off the edge there. The last time we had Creative Morning, I talked a lot about, I think this was the last time, I'm sure someone will correct me if I'm wrong, but about like adding white and lightening the colors. Maybe that wasn't the last time, but I know recently we've been talking about that and like how we lighten colors without making the colors appear too chalky. And I've been kind of thinking about that as I paint lately. It is definitely a challenge for me to think about lightening things without white, which is something I'm trying to do more. And it's just really a matter of just finding those colors that are going to be lighter versions of, you know, like a lighter version of yellow that you can use when you need to lighten things that should have, like, that do have yellow in them. Ooh, this is an odd color. Added a little bit of that green that I had made earlier. I don't know, I wanted it to feel a little bit more like translucent. I don't know. It doesn't really look translucent, but I did feel like it needed to be a little less intense of a pink. I do a little bit like this. And I do think that that green underneath kind of like lowers the intensity just a little bit of the colors, which I think is something good about it, right? So that green kind of like peeks through and will help it kind of feel a little less, you know, crazy, vibrant pink. I love that there's these little bits of like spotting, variegations on the leaf that are just like so beautiful and really like, I don't know, like they just create this beautiful kind of pattern on there. And I'm still with my big brush, so I mean I plan to get into a smaller brush soon, but not quite ready yet. I'm going to put in some of these like greens that I see in the back. A little bit of pink to, again, desaturate that a little bit. Lower the intensity so it doesn't look too, you know, like Crayola colored. And with these acrylic gouache, you can really just layer and stack, which is really helpful. I still have a tendency to kind of want to paint like in just those areas where it's supposed to be, but you really don't have to think like that. You can just build on top of them. I feel like it's more natural for me to kind of work the spaces as we go instead of just filling them all in and then layering and layering. But you do you. Do a little bit of white in that one. I am trying to think about the amount of white I use because I love it. I love it, and I think I need to just try to use it a little bit more sparingly. I don't know. I don't know if I need to do that, but I have this feeling that I do. Maybe that's not that important. Like here, I see all this like glossiness, so I really want to add a fair amount there. Maybe over here too, I can use the same color that's on my brush while I'm here. I always feel like I always say I'm a lazy painter. So if it's already on my brush, I'm gonna look for every other area that I can put it into. But really, I feel like I'm being efficient, you know? That's probably why I paint pretty quickly, because I just kind of scan the image often, and I'm looking for all the other spaces that I can incorporate this color that's already on my brush so that I can use it while it is there. There's also something back here that I didn't get. Okay. Okay, I feel like I'm getting closer to the time when I'm gonna have to switch to a smaller brush. I also feel like I could use a warmer yellow, and that would really give me a little bit more. Oh, I missed something here. A little bit more of the greens that I'm looking for. Something like that. And I missed this guy back here. I'm just gonna imply it over here somewhere. Okay. Probably didn't look like much in there, but so this is now an ultramarine blue, a green made with ultramarine blue, so that you can see how different the green is on that one. And I think this works well for like things that are in the shadows. There's some pink on this leaf here. So right here, there's some. And also, but I do feel like that is very translucent. I'm gonna add a little bit, just a little bit of white to make it a little more opaque. Let's see if I can fit my brush in these little tiny nooks. I have to come back with that alizarin crimson. I think I used alizarin crimson on my palette today, so that way I can kind of mark out those stems. Sorry, I was like, what am I talking about? Girl, get your head on straight. Here we go. Yeah, and some of these are like right underneath, so they're kind of serving like, this green can serve like two purposes. It's like, of course, the green, but it's giving us an indication of that shadow, right? Where we can see the two leaves kind of butt up against each other. And I bring it into some of these other leaves here where it feels really dark, like here, back here for sure. I think that's okay. I love these colors so much. I kind of feel like I would even like really like this if it was like it kind of like ended there. I don't know. That might be a controversial take, but I'm gonna block in, while I still have my big brush out, I'm gonna block in this little pot. I'm gonna block this in right there. And I don't know, I don't really have like I have to do this a certain color, but I think it like something kind of lavender would be kind of a nice fit here. I painted the little ribbon. I guess it's okay. It's part of the process, I guess. It happens. Didn't mean for that to happen, so. Okay, I'm gonna do a little bit like that. I'm gonna brighten as I get closer. Ooh, 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 maybe went too far there. Ooh, I love this color. Mix them together. So we can create like a gradient almost, because their light is coming from over here. Let's do a little bit more white. Like, is this chalky? I think so. I think it is. Okay. And that looks kind of like warm, but bright. Value, that's a whole other beast. See, we want something pretty bright there. Right here. We just want it to be brighter than the surrounding area, so it looks like it has some reflected light. Excuse me, jeez. My allergies are doing the most right now. Okay. It's funny how that's not really opaque enough for me, but I think it's just because my brush had a lot of water. Okay. This still does feel a little bit funny in terms of the perspective, but I'll try to make the most of it. And then here, where I have a lot of black, debating whether I should put black in, because I have the ink brush. Let me put in a couple of the things that I see happening here. There's like these little bits of like stem. They're little, it's vague down here for sure. It's not really clear. I just want to kind of mark in where I think I can put other colors in there, so it doesn't have to be like all black in here, but you can do that. I'm just going to kind of mark around there. And I'm going to leave it kind of like sketchy, so it feels, so I don't know what this is right here. I don't think that's supposed to be there. So that it feels like a little more textured, like there's, you know, different values. It's like those little, like, you know, little, what are those white things in the soil? I don't know. Those little, they're not seeds. I was about to say seeds, but it's like, you know, the soil, like, I don't know, the amendments in the soil that like make the soil, I don't know. Really, just be quiet, Erica. I have no idea, but there's like little white bits there, and I want to leave room for that, is all I'm trying to say. There we go. Words are hard. Okay. So I'm going to just mark these in because I don't want them to get lost, at least not in my head, right? Like I want to know that I put these in there for a purpose. And if I, you know, decide that I don't like it later, I can come back and, you know, draw over them or something like that, right? But there are just like some like hints of that, you know, space. And I think I'm going to switch now to a smaller brush. Now I'll come back to my background later, and I'm going to move into something a little bit smaller. So now I'm using a number 10. These are the Princeton Velvet Touch number 10 flat shader. Flats are like my favorite brush. So that's usually what I use. And like only until I get to like the very end will I bring out the really like fine brushes, or even round brushes, because I tend to just do the bulk of my work with a flat. This is where things are looking a little, ugh. This big broad leaf right in the front, so I feel like I need to give it some attention. Just looks so like unconsidered, like it just has like one shade of pink and it's just like looking very bleh. So I'm gonna give it a little bit of attention to. I think the last time we had our our meeting, our creative morning, my dog was whining and whining, and I was thinking a lot about that, how like I kept going, oh, you know, don't listen to him. He just went outside and he's fine. And then he was like trapped in my room and he was really trying to get out of there. And today my dogs are behaving so nicely. I'm shocked. I shouldn't have even said that now that I think about it. It's probably going to get jinxed now. Probably going to hear the mailman and get angry. I also have some birds like right next to my studio window. And like yesterday, they were really loud, and today they're relatively quiet. But I mean, like sometimes I'll be in like other parts of the house and I can hear them. They're so like noisy. People go like, oh, that's so cute. And I'm like, yes, I do like the sound of them, but they are loud. They're very, very loud next to my window. I'm putting in a little bit of like these diagonal lines, which are just gonna like, they're just meant to kind of like give the impression of the texture of the leaf. I don't need to do every single one, and I don't want to feel like obligated to make it a little like too similar to what I'm seeing. I mean, I'm not really, but I just want to kind of play with it, you know. It doesn't have to be like what I'm seeing, exactly like what I'm seeing, of course. So feel free to kind of like stop before you feel like you've got everything. You don't have to put everything in. And don't forget to take time to just like step back and look at your work. I think one of the benefits of doing these kind of like live streams is that, you know, the software that I use for this kind of like streaming allows me to see the camera right up in front of me. And so it's really easy to step back and look at my work, right, so to speak, because all I have to do is look up and I can see the overall composition. Sometimes we get so like kind of sucked into the work that we don't really stop and look at it. And I think that that's something that we have to kind of make more time to do, just because that's when you're going to see areas that still need development or haven't been worked on or could use something. And that can be really helpful data, feedback, whatever. I think that's where I notice when I think like things look too, you know, formulaic. For me, if they're just like one simple color or something, that's when I don't like that personally for my own work, because I feel like it just looks like formulaic. Like I didn't really look at the images. I just kind of like went, oh, green and pink leaf. Let me just make half of it green and half of it pink or something like that. So I try to be a little bit more, I don't know, aware of some of the variations, and I really do try to capture some of them, even though I'm not trying to be like too true to the image. If that makes any sense. I don't even know. If I'm just rambling now, maybe it's possible, but I am kind of like, I mean, I'm enjoying this so far. I like the way it looks. There's some areas that I still haven't quite addressed, like over here, so I'm going to try to tackle those right now. Some unusual colors here. I'm going to make this kind of like weird green and pink color. Oh, it's kind of like orangey. And I do feel like it needs a little bit more green in there, but this area right here is really unusual. Does that happen somewhere else, like kind of here? It's really kind of cool, not cool temperature wise, but like a really cool kind of color that's happening there with these two together. And that's where I usually start to, you know, make a few mistakes, just because the green and the pink together have a tendency to just go brown if you're not careful. So you kind of have to be really frugal, I think, maybe with that, with the amounts that you use, just so they don't like turn straight into mud. And I am really looking forward to putting in some of these like little specks, you know, the little speckled areas. Like, oh, those are going to be such a cute like addition, I think. It'll give it like that kind of polka dotty look. There. This part got it really muddy, so I want to try to make that again. It's a really like interesting color right here in that part on the image. I think it's very cool, but I feel like it's like, yeah, it's kind of mud, right? It's kind of looking muddy, and I think that that's just, you know, the way the color needs to look. So maybe just accept that. Maybe I need to accept that. There, that happens a little bit over here too. Yeah, this part especially has like a lot of reds in it. So I can kind of, and I don't know, it kind of seems almost like it's got reflected light, like something is reflecting from this side here, because the edge of this leaf has a lot of red. I don't really see it over here that much. A little bit on there. This might have some of that too. Okay. I think I went a little bit too far there. Okay, now this needs a little bit of that kind of creamy green, lots of yellow, a little bit more white, definitely a little bit of that pink. Maybe that'll work. Let's see. Let's see if this works. I think it's close. It's similar. See if I can use that here too, where it starts to turn green. This one too, I feel like I can use it in here. I can hear my dog just licking, and I'm trying not to think about it. Oh, there, she's quiet. Good girl, Lucy. Okay. I'm still missing some stuff here. Yeah. Let's put that one. I'm going to use a lighter yellow for that one. I don't know why that one feels like it should be a little bit. I do think it should be really similar to that color that's in the background. Right there. I'm going to add a little bit over here. Such an interesting color. Put some over here. Add a little bit more refinement here to that area. Oh no, that's not the right color. Let's put some of that here, even though I don't really feel like that's the right color, but I'm going to put it down anyway, and then I can come back and paint on top. Right there. It is 10:49. We are making some good progress. I hope you are too. Now this month we are doing quite a bit of leaf painting in my Patreon. So if you've ever kind of like thought about like I don't know, studying them so that way you can kind of, you know, treat them more like what you see in your images, or you want to like think about different ways to approach something like leaves, because I feel like sometimes leaves get such a like short end of the stick, right? Like they're just like, oh, green, right? And so the idea here is for us to think about how different leaves can be and how the shapes can vary, and kind of explore that in our own sketchbook. So that's what we're doing this month. We already did one of these with the agave. We painted agave last week, which was a very fun one, I think. These tiny little specks are so cute, I swear. I love them. They're just like little freckles on the leaves. I still haven't got the right color for this, so let's do that now before time gets away from us. Right here. No, we're seeing what we make here. We definitely want it to be pretty green, but I feel like that already has too much white in it. Let me start again. I'm gonna start with this. Let's put it here. Grab some of this. A little bit more. Warm it up a little. I think that's better. Let's put some of this in here. Oh, there's Henry. A little bit of that underneath that leaf there. Definitely some down here where it starts to get kind of darker. Cover that little black spot. I think I got pretty much, I think maybe I'm just missing that little guy there. Got pretty much everything. So now I think I'm gonna size down to a new brush just so I can add a little bit of those freckly bits. I feel like I'm making good progress. Oh, I see something missing here. A stem, a big stem right here. Something like that. I just want to put the black in, so I just don't want it to feel like out of place. So I'm going to move down. The last brush I just used was a 10. Now I'm going to use an 8. I do think probably a round would be best right now, just because of the freckles, but or like the little spots. But before I do that, I'm going to use this one to see if I can get a little bit more color in these little like weird stem leaves thingies. I don't know what they are, but to me they look like those, like, you know, a new growth is happening. So that's what it makes me think of. Let me add a little bit of blue to it because it just looks so, you know, dark in some bits. This is alizarin crimson with, I want to say I just did cobalt. Try to see right there. And I'm using that to kind of define the space so that some of them seem like they're behind and others are in front. Add that little bit of shadow to them. I think the black outline kind of does that as well, but I think this would be part of that for sure. Kind of define those little spaces there. And I do want to put in a little bit of light on those too, because there is some light in there on those little stem thingies, whatever they are. So I'm going to use some of that pink, tiny bit of white, maybe some of that alizarin crimson, kind of keep it in the same family. I'm going to look for that light on this side right here. There's a little bit back here, a little bit right here. I'm trying to find it. Maybe this guy right here. Right here for sure. And this thingy right here. Okay. Now I'll come back in with, I'm going to use my smallest, well, I have one more small one, but I'm going to switch to the round. And I'm going to do some of this like opaque kind of limey green here. And some of them are going to be like kind of whitish. This I think kind of reads a little bit white. Maybe this needs a little bit more actual white in here. A lot of little freckles in here. I love that little section there. I don't want to like, I might not be able to capture all of that, right? But I do like to think like, okay, there's some longer lines and then there's some, you know, shorter ones. So I try to create a combination of both of those things. Right here. Some little bits are going to be like little circles and other parts are going to be little, like long lines, right? Like here. I don't know, maybe I shouldn't do any, you know, kind of pattern in the background, because will it, I don't know, maybe it'll clash with the little patterns in here. I don't know. I might do it anyway, but just to see. I mean, how will I know if I don't try it? And I have to always remind myself that my sketchbook is a place to play. And I don't need to be precious with it. I'm going to do some very, very light pinks also. This is going to be a pretty, what is this, palette paper? I really like to see the colors that appear on those. I tend to save them all, and recently on workshop week I asked the audience like, what should I do with these things that I've been saving? And they were all my little palette papers, and they were like, you should make like, they gave me all these suggestions. So I started cutting them up, and I was gonna make some bookmarks, so I made myself a bookmark, but I haven't really done much else with them. So this one I think will be like pretty. And if you want to do that sort of thing too, if you're using the palette paper as well, or just like any sheet of paper to create your palette, make sure that you smooth out any large chunks of paint before you do that, because a lot of mine still have a lot of like thick blobs, and I have to kind of like chop them off. So keep that in mind if you're making something, you're crafting with your leftover palette pages. A little bit more right here. And then there's some even inside the soil, so let me put some of that in there. Okay. I kind of feel like I also want to come in with my my brush again. So I might do that as well. Ooh, this is good. And it's kind of like perfect timing because we're right at around 11. So I do like to see some of this kind of black stuff kind of peeking through. I think what I'm going to do is actually paint in the background. I don't know. I feel like I shouldn't do it. I feel like I like the background because like really irregular, but I just love to paint a background. Like when I block that in and this kind of like, I don't know, there's something about this like look here that I really like where it's kind of, I don't know, like, I don't know. Maybe I'll just leave it like this. Should I leave it like this? Let me see. Let me think about it. I do it like, I like this blocking in stuff, but maybe I don't want that for this. Okay, well, I feel like I'm kind of done. I'm going to put a date on here. That was really nice because, I mean, even though it's just one work, like we just did one painting today, I love that it's like a whole hour of just like painting one. And 1 hour is not really that much in like actuality. A lot of people will spend a lot more time than just 1 hour on their work, right? So I think that's like still, you know, really like a lot of work that we did in one very short time session, right? Because we only gave ourselves about an hour to do this. And of course, like if you feel like you want to keep working on it, you should do that. Maybe you're still feeling like there's still a lot of work to be done on it. I feel kind of good about mine, so I don't think I'm going to do anything with mine. Let me take off my image to show you. And then I think that makes it easier for me to show you my picture. So this is the final, right? So I'll show it to you a little closer. Take this little guy off. Here's the final. And you can see kind of like some of the details. Really wish I had like a camera where I could just zoom in. But you can see it's loose, right? But it's still kind of like tight enough to create the impression of the image. And I think that's like a happy place where I want to be. I kind of feel like I can probably, since I'm here, add in a little bit more white here to really give that like light, that sense of like light kind of popping here. I do feel like maybe I have to like, I don't have enough like white. It's like, oh, I'm trying to be so frugal with my amount of white, and then I end up with not enough. So right there, I wanted that little bit here to kind of just like really kind of pop out. I wanted there to be a good amount of contrast here. I don't know if I captured it yet, but it's okay. There should also be a little bit more over here too. A little bit more light that's kind of really bouncing off of that leaf. I feel like it happens here too. Right here. I think that's okay. I don't know. I will surprise you if I decide to paint in the background. But for now, I'm going to leave it like this. I kind of feel like I'm just going to leave it. So I have like 4 more images of pink leaves that I think I'm going to play with. I just have a few more pages in my sketchbook. So you can see I'm almost out of pages. Oh no, I have to order a new one. But I'm really excited because this sketchbook has been all like, this was from May and June. So we've just really been, we were exploring flowers last month. And so all of this is feeling like flowers and leaves. And this month we're doing leaves. So you can see all my like studies in here, flowers. I just feel like this sketchbook is like, never does this happen where my sketchbook is like kind of thematic, and I kind of love this. So I'm got a few more pages left. I'm going to do some more painting next week. So if you are in the mood for a little bit of working your sketchbook, next Wednesday I'll be hosting another one of these creative morning live streams, and you're invited to join me. So I hope you'll join me. I hope you made something today. I hope you'll share it with me online. You can tag me on Instagram if you'd like to do that, or you can post into the Patreon community chat, because that's where we get to share images of our work, and we can kind of comment on it, and you can share it with a group, and you can share it with me. But Instagram is great too. My Instagram is @EricaBeeswax. And I would be so happy to see your work there. So please share with me if you made anything, and I hope that I'll get to see you next week. We'll do this again, same time next Wednesday. So until then, happy painting. I will see you.